Well, today I'm with my friend Nym Raske, and he was formerly the COO of WePay, which was a division of JP Morgan. And he's also an investor in several startups, advisor to startups, and also provides his services as a COO and CFO fractionally to other startups around the world. So we're happy to have him today. You have an upcoming workshop for different startups, and tell me a little bit about the workshop that's coming up.
It's essentially a session where I'm going to be speaking with my associate, Lisa Schultz. She's an outside advisor to one of the companies I work with. And we're going to be talking about when a typical startup company would go through an evolution or start considering an evolution from QBO to a more formal ERP system for their finance.
So Nim, one of the pain points that you've seen with startups is migrating and when to migrate from QuickBooks over to an ERP. And what are some of the problems that that causes if you don't think about that soon enough?
Several things. I mean, the biggest one is just a universal impact to efficiency and budget. Just everything starts getting incrementally harder over time. Your reporting gets worse, your month-end close gets slower, the size of the finance team you need gets bigger because you have more manual processes, things living in spreadsheets increasingly. And then besides that, the broader impact, depending on what industry you're in or what sort of evolutionary milestones you have ahead of you, is things like positioning yourself for a strategic acquisition or an IPO suddenly becomes problematic because your system doesn't support the diligence needs, or you could just end up not being able to grow the company in the way you need. To say, if you need to go international, QBO largely doesn't support that. If you have a multi-entity structure, it doesn't support that either. So you'll start to feel growth constrained in a number of ways.
And so with the workshop that's coming up, you're going to be speaking with your colleague Lisa Schultz. She's another Bay Area finance executive, startup expert, right? She's been through multiple startups. And so talk a little bit about the format of the call and of the just the workshop in general. You guys are going to talk to each other. There's going to be some open conversation and things. Describe that a little bit.
Yeah, we're planning to spend somewhere in the range of the first half hour going through a bit of background, probably a lot of personal narrative around some anecdotal experiences that have gone well or not well in our startup experience. I'll be probably taking more of the role of interviewer and pulling some of Lisa's wisdom into the group for everyone's benefit. But we'll go over that for about a half an hour, cover some of the things to keep an eye out for, maybe some talking points for the audience around what they could take back to their companies and maybe discuss with their finance leadership or their executive leadership. And then largely it'll go into a Q&A where we can just fundamentally dig into each individual audience member's questions and yeah, we can help.
So who do you think is a good prospect to join in on the workshop?
It's a great question. ERP is definitely not the sexiest of topics. If you're a finance team member, definitely relevant as you start to pass, say, 50 to 100 team members or $10 million in revenue. Otherwise, if you're on the executive team more broadly, or if you're a founder CEO generally, and you're in, say, the seed or Series A range, this is probably something that you may not want to learn, but you'll know it's very relevant, and it starts to impact, say, board reporting, strategic planning, compliance, audit. So it's something that any CEO or CFO or general head of finance would probably find very relevant.
Somebody at a startup that really needs to be thinking about when to move to an ERP, this is going to be a helpful workshop for them.
Correct.